Welcome in. My name is Kevin Fisher, and this is my first 2-minute drill. This is, of course, for Macintosh's sports business class. If you don't know what that is, then I have no idea how you got here, but welcome in anyways. Today I'm going to be talking about an article in the Sports Business Journal by Brett McCormick called "The Rise of Fantasy Football Played a Big Part in the League's Growth." Of course, this is talking about the NFL and its relationship with fantasy football. The article starts off talking about how fantasy football came to be, saying that in 1962, a Raiders minority owner and two newspaper dudes got together and created fantasy football. That year, the Raiders went a whopping 1-13, so go fantasy, right? But as the years went on and technology advanced, and as we know, sports business and technological advances, they go hand in hand. So fantasy football blew up with things like the internet and smartphones. And now, as of 2017, 47 million people are playing fantasy football. In fact, it's gotten so big that that little bar you see going across the bottom of your screen watching any game, 15% of that is dedicated to fantasy football owners. Now, the article goes a little bit more in depth, saying that fantasy football is great for the NFL because it brings in this new fan base. In fact, it says that 29% of all fantasy football players are women, and many of those would never get into football in the first place if it wasn't for fantasy. It's something that they like more. They're able to wrap their head around it, and I feel like it's that way for many fantasy football owners who are now football fans. So we have to ask the question, is it really good for the NFL? And we've had this discussion before where, yes, you're bringing in a whole new group of people, which is awesome, but at the same time, some of your core fans are now rooting for their own teams and therefore rooting against your team instead of rooting for their home team and the team that you run. So is it something that's really worth putting a lot of assets into? That's something that the article really encourages us to talk about more, but as for right now, that's our breakdown on the article. Thanks again.